Well, a lot of gardeners are familiar with that term standard, which basically means to grow a plant on a long stem. Now, when it comes to patio plants, we often see the fuchsia, which looks wonderful when it's done in that form, but there are a lot of things to choose from other than fuchsias. Now, I've got a few here. I want to start with this one. This one is called lantana, which I think is really great. Now, I must point out right away that none of the plants you're going to see here are hardy. They're all going to need some kind of frost protection. Most of them will do to about -2 degrees Celsius, but if it gets colder than that, it's not going to make it, so you're going to have to give them some protection. This is a really neat one, and why I like this one is because when the flowers get old, they actually have the flower bud, and they open on the outside, and then as the flowers get old, they get darker, so you get this sort of two-tone effect. Now, you can get them in pinks and oranges and yellows, and you can almost get sort of an orange and a yellow all together, and it looks wonderful. Now, there is a word of caution with this. If you have pets, basically you should watch it because the foliage and the berries that are produced are a little harmful to the pets. They can make them quite ill, so keep your pets away from this. This is an exceptionally great container plant, though, from the point of view is that it actually can take a bit of drought, and it doesn't need a lot of fertilizer. Actually, where they grow natively, if they get too much fertilizer and too much water, they actually stop flowering. So this is a great one if you're someone that doesn't like to take care of your stuff and just still have a beautiful plant. Now this one here, this one's called the African mallow. Now this one actually is, in some circles in the world, is actually called a dwarf or miniature hibiscus. And if you look at the flower, you can really see the way that it looks like a tiny hibiscus flower. Now this is nice because it'll flower all through the summer months, and it flowers on new growth. So if it gets a little out of control, just prune it back and you can see this thing is full of lots of little buds. So it's really nice, and it comes in these beautiful shells, sort of dainty pinks and other shades, so it's really cool. Now I have one down here. Now a lot of people might be familiar with the flowering maple, arbutelon. Now this is one that I've read literature on it. They call it the arbutelon on steroids because it's a hybrid, and this one's called Big Bell. And what's neat about this one is it's better in every aspect. The leaves are darker than a standard arbutelon. If you've seen standards, you'll find that they can be sort of a light green. The flower, which is this very, very unique flower, it's got the red and then the yellow on the bottom, is deep colors. Like the other arbutelon is, you won't find the kind of colors that you have here. And this one also makes a great patio plant. Now it's not actually on a standard, but they've got it staked up, and this one will need winter protection as well. Now this is one of my favorites. I really enjoy this one. This one's a heliotrope, and why I like it is that you get these lovely clusters of purple flowers, and they're really a showpiece, and anybody that walks close to them, oh, you give them a smell. Now some people say it's like vanilla, some people it's sort of like licorice scent to it, but anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful plant, and it will flower all summer long, and actually a little bit into the fall. Again, when it stops putting on new growth, you're going to find that it's time to put it in some protection. And that brings me to my next point. This is actually a heliotrope here. This is one I had last year. Now, for those of you that maybe can't see it so clearly on TV, but this one is not dead. It actually has been pruned back. I've stored it in a cool location, and it's got lots of new growth coming out. So in a very short time, we're going to see this turn into this. Now what you need to do is, remember, you should put it in an area where it's not going to get frozen. If you can keep it in that 10 degrees Celsius, perfect, bright light, and leave all the canopy like we've got here, leave it all on until the new growth is initiated. There's a lot of food and stuff that is stored in the leaves and the stems of the plant, and the plant needs that to make it through the winter. Once you see the initiation of the new growth, then you can take it off. And basically what I do is I usually do a little scratch test. If it's still a little green, and this one is, even, you just take it back down to the area until you see green, because all the brown stems aren't going to help at all. So you can just give a little scratch. This one's still green. I'm going to leave that one. That one's brown. That one can come off. And all these little growth stems are going to be beautiful. One last point I should make up is when you go from a plant like this, it really needs a lot of nutrients and water. except for the lantana that I mentioned, and it should be potted up into something a little bit bigger. So what we should do is put it in at least 1/3 bigger than the existing pot, and make sure that you've got the best soil possible. I strongly suggest you use a mycorrhiza product like Mike, where you can put it on there so you get good root development, and then also use a good organic fertilizer similar to Rain Grow or some other fertilizers, and then you are going to have lots of color in beautiful plants like you see here right up on your patio.